Well, will it improve? Yes. Will those people who are using it do better? Yes. Will they be market leaders? Yes. Will it ultimately be better for society? Probably not.
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
So, Chris, now the other thing that I want to speak with you is about AI. How do you think the use of AI today? A lot of people say that we will replace jobs, that 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 well is like a kid. If you teach them good things, it's gonna do good things. If you teach them bad things, it's gonna do bad things, right? It's only learn. So what is your view in AI, and is it really AI is gonna improve the way that we do businesses?
Well, will it improve? Yes. Will those people who are using it do better? Yes. Will they be market leaders? Yes. Will it ultimately be better for society? Probably not. Will it potentially make it harder for us? And could we go extinct? And, could we have robot overlords? I mean, those are all possible things that could happen, right? Because everything that humans have ever created was for the benefit and at the command of that human being, right? This is the first thing we've ever created that can make its own ideas and do its own things and does not need us at some point to come up with its own ideas and decide what it wants to do. So this is a very different kind of creation. Um, I wouldn't call it sentient yet, but certainly the idea that something can have a mind of its own, right? The printing press, the plow, the computer, those things didn't have a mind of their own. They were all reliant on us telling it what to do, controlling it. But AI has this potential to step out of that, and that's going to be on the danger side, but on the business side right now, if you're not mastering it, if you're not using it, if you're not making it a strong part of your business, you're going to get left behind, just like the people who didn't want to do the internet, who didn't want to build a website, who didn't want to, have a cell phone. All those kinds of people got left behind as well in the marketplace.
Yeah. So I let's talk now more about what is your view in technology. How do you think that the tech is gonna change the landscape of your business? And then can you share a little bit more about your book? What's the name? What it's about? Where can
Sure.
we find it?
Yeah. So I think what businesses are really going to have to figure out is how do we lean more on our humanity? How do we do the things that make us special that we can do as humans? What are those activities? And then how do we pinpoint that and make sure that we're doing them very, very well? And then allowing the AI to do the other junk that we don't need to be doing. Um, and then understanding that the innovation cycles are getting shorter and shorter. The amount of change that's happening is happening faster in shorter periods of time. And so, how does that impact you, your business? But more importantly, how does it impact your clients? And how can you show up in a way that helps them, right? So that you can continue to grow your business and make more money if you're solving that frustration for them, right? That things keep changing. You need to be the one to make things clearer, simpler, easier to understand, create confidence in them, and your business will do well. As for my book, The Power of Company Culture, it's in its second edition. You can get it anywhere.
Wow, I love
Uh,
the title.
yeah. Anywhere around the world, Amazon, Bolt, I don't know, whatever online bookstores in your country, the book should be there. It's translated in a bunch of languages for the summaries. I think it's in Vietnamese as well, and English,
Wow.
a few other languages. So, anyways, it's wherever you find books, you can find it. It's also there's an Audible version as well that I read. So if you would prefer to listen to it, it's out there as well.
Okay, so a little bit more in culture because this is, Chris, what we find out in the large organizations that they are, and that is embedded in the culture, how they communicate themselves effectively. We find this type of organization that they look like a Titanic, they are a big boat, and then when they are so rigid and so high and so well structured that when you say turn right, this big boat, this big Titanic have to turn right. Where there is another organizations where the culture is different, and rather than have a big Titanic, they have like 3,000 little boats. And then what happens is when the first boat turn to right, all the little boats turn right faster. And those companies with these structures, they respond to change faster. You already shared with us that innovation times are getting shorter and shorter, so more and more and more companies have to respond to change faster and faster. And with the Titanic organization, where the culture in the organization is designed in a way that they don't interact among themselves, the departments, and there is no what we call it vertical, but also horizontal communication across the board. We find out that then the companies are more slow responding to change. So, what is your view in empowering and and enrolling these big organizations that in order to respond to change fast, and like you said, innovation cycles are becoming shorter and shorter. How culture play a role in the speed that companies respond to change?
Well, when you're talking about large organizations, often innovation has to be pulled out of the organization, has to be literally put in a different building away from the culture because the culture essentially is trying to keep homeostasis. It's trying to keep what is happening going. And sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes, we want it can to continue to do the thing that we're doing really, really well. But if we look at other examples of Blockbuster and Kodak and those things, Blockbuster knew about streaming. Kodak
So
knew
then what
about
happened?
digital film, right? But their culture was trying to keep what they were currently doing going. And so they did not take their innovation group and pull it out of that culture and say, "Hey, go over here and create new cool things, experiment, right? Run tests and let's see if we can't come up with the next big idea." And once they figured that out, then they can come back to senior leadership and decide whether or not we should take that leap. When you leave it to the average employees to all kind of like are working together, that they're thinking, well, we're doing really well right now. We've got a cash cow right now. Why would we change? Why would we do anything different? And that makes a lot of sense. If you look, Google has got Alphabet, right? So they literally have Google. I'm forgetting now the other. Is it Sky? Anyways, they've got a whole unit that's like outside of Google that they do all these crazy big things and try to solve these big giant problems for the world. And so their innovation is again pulled out of that general part. If you even look at what Google had gone through a little bit of some issues here when ChatGPT came out, that they were behind, right? And they were a little stuck. That their AI stuff was inside of Google and was a little stuck. They quickly realized that they were in that position and radically changed. They got Claude out there, and now they're back to being a market leader. We'll see if they figure out their ad problems and how they're going to continue to make money. But they realized that they were in danger of being one of those dinosaurs. But that's typically how we deal with it, which is very different than if you have 10 people in your company, right? If you have 10 people in your company, then it's very, very different approach. And you can be thinking about innovation and doing experiments and thinking about change and the next big thing that's going to make you the next million feels natural. It feels normal to think that way. It doesn't when you're a $200 billion company and someone says, well, maybe we should stop doing this and we can go do something else that isn't tested yet. That seems like anarchy, you know?
So in your view, do you think that Google respond to change fast when ChatGPT came out, and this is because the culture and the structure they have, or do you think that because I think that they have some challenges, but at least they could respond, right?
Yeah, I do think that they changed very quickly. And they were maybe stuck a little bit in they wanted it to be perfect. And when we start a business and we're being innovative, we're not worried about perfection. It's just get something out there and then try to make it better the next time and get a little bit better and a little bit better. And Google was probably, you know, in my opinion, trying to make it perfect, trying to make it just right before they released it. And here comes ChatGPT that said, well, this is pretty awesome. Although the early ChatGPT was pretty crappy. I mean, it was cool what it would do, but it was also pretty crappy at the same time. But they got better very, very quickly because of all the attention, all the cash they got with the new users, the investors, right? They got excitement. And so, you know, Google had to catch up pretty quickly.
It got a huge valuation, ChatGPT really fast, right? One of the
Yeah.
biggest, largest valuations in history, shorter than, so they did create something amazing. So, how do you think? So, do you think that this is because of Google culture and the structure there? At least they managed to come up with the innovation, respond to change fast. Because if things doesn't, if they don't move fast, they could be out of business. People can actually search. Most of the problems that the search engine that we go to a search engine, ChatGPT was solving few of them, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, they whether or not they had it right, they figured it out. And I give them credit for figuring it out, pivoting quickly and
And to
being able
respond to
to
change
adjust.
fast, which is
Yeah.
embedded in the culture of the organization. I think that a lot. So, what improvement, Chris, do you think generally in corporate America or in the corporate can be done in improving culture so they can respond to change fast?
Well, if we can decentralize things, sometimes we get stuck having to go through too many layers of approvals and all of this. I mean, so sometimes we can make innovation uh, have less resistance to see the light of day, right? So if the culture is let's try something, let's see, let's experiment, um, and then go and evaluate that and decide whether or not it's any good. Cultures like that do very, very well. Cultures that say, well, we don't have time for this, we have too many initiatives. You know, you need to get five other managers on board to decide that this is something we really want to do, right? Those organizations generally don't do as well. There are some examples of some companies that are much more systematic and take longer to change. IBM is actually they're a little bit more really strategic and they take longer to change. When they make the change, it's pretty big, right? But you know, so there's kind of pros and cons. But um, what can you do as an everyday leader to get your people to be willing to try things and willing to come back and say, this is what worked, this is what didn't work, this is what I learned, and getting in that habit because eventually you're going to find something really cool.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.